Hey guys, just a disclaimer, this episode of the Crib Podcast is going to be a pretty serious one. We're going to talk about some important things that have happened the past couple months in our country, and I have informed my guests on this disclaimer. It's going to be uncensored. While listening to this, please be open to the perspectives given by the speakers and understand where we're coming from. And make sure if you guys enjoy this podcast, check out the Crib Podcast on Instagram. The link will be in the description below. And check out the guests and, of course, my links down below for any updates or just anything at all. And without further ado, enjoy. All right, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Crib Podcast. We're back for season 1, and today I have a very special guest to kick off this new season. Hope you guys had a great summer. I sure did, with everything going on. So without further ado, my guest today is someone that I went to high school with, but I didn't really know her personally. But she's very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement in my local town and community. Claire Green, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just want to thank you for coming on. And yeah, so we're going to be covering some pretty some dense material today. So we were both. I made her aware of what was going to go down, and she has been, kind of made aware of the situation. But so we're just going to get into it, and please just listen with open ears, no matter what your beliefs are. But just kind of hear us out. But most importantly, hear her out. So let's get right into it.
Cool.
All right, so Claire, I guess what I want to start off with, I don't really know where to start, honestly.
It's a big topic. It's a lot to cover.
It is. It definitely is. I guess I would just kind of start out with just saying, I know there's a lot of confusion between kind of what Black Lives Matter means. Some people take it, all the way to the right and say, does it just mean Black Lives Matter, or does it mean, and then, you see everyone saying all lives matter, but that's not really the case. Can you kind of explain to us what Black Lives Matter means first before we kind of get going?
Yeah, so Black Lives Matter is, it's important to remember that it doesn't mean Black Lives Matter more than other lives, but that Black Lives Matter too. And a good analogy that I like to use when people don't understand this is that if there's a neighborhood and there's one house on fire,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't put water to all the houses because not all. I think that's a really good analogy to kind of.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I know I'm kind of I'm losing you a little bit on audio. I don't know why that is.
Oh yeah, might be my fault.
It's all good. I'll kind of just I think they kind of get it, but yeah, definitely. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of why you see all the Black Lives Matter things going on social media and that. So I'm gonna kind of take this to your own personal kind of experiences. What you obviously being a person of color, have you personally experienced racism, and can you kind of talk about when was kind of the first time you kind of knew, hey, this doesn't really add up, you know what I'm saying?
So in a predominantly white town like Livermore, I feel like people are less obligated, or they feel less comfortable with being blatantly racist, but they will do a lot of implicitly racist things, which for me, a person, I'm mixed, so I feel like I experienced a lot of those microaggressions when I was younger. Yeah. But those things that don't necessarily seem harmful, but they have harmful intentions, things like, oh, can I touch your hair? You're so exotic. Things like that, people may not think they're racist, but they can really contribute to this idea of stereotyping via racism.
Definitely. Definitely. I think that nails it right on the head. Especially kind of our kind of situation, our town being predominantly, I guess, Caucasian, males, females. Did you kind of have at a young age, did you ever kind of experience anything with other classmates and stuff?
for me, it's kind of just been normalized, which is kind of the alarming thing about it, is that I can't look back and say, oh, like, that was the first time I definitely experienced racism, because I feel like it's just all these comments throughout my childhood. It's just so normalized, so I can't really think of anything that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's always the can I touch your hair, you know, what are you, you know, things about my appearance mostly for me. Definitely. Because it's not like really my personality or my voice, I guess, because I know a lot of other people that I know kind of get made fun of for like where they're from. But for me, it's like mostly my appearance, I guess, and people are really like curious about that.
Definitely. Yeah, and I mean, I figured I'd kind of answer this question too. I'm obviously Chinese. I'm Asian. I guess I'm full Asian. I'm not really sure, but I'm Asian. So, yeah, I grew up, you know, I wasn't born, you know, in the Bay Area where it's, you know, a lot more diverse. I was actually born in Houston, Texas. So, in the South, you know, there's a lot of, you know, it's a lot different down there, from when I was last there. Yeah, so I was born in Houston, Texas. Then I moved to Arkansas, which I think is much more, I guess, conservative. And, you know, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. But those were my early parts of my life. I really don't remember a lot. But I then moved to this town in the Central Valley called Oakdale, California. And, yeah, that's kind of where I grew up. I attended elementary school, and then I moved to Livermore, I think 7th grade. So, yeah, in that town, a lot of farms, a lot of, you know, we had like a rodeo like we do here in Livermore. Had a lot of, you know, farms, a lot of Caucasian, Latino, people. It's in the San Joaquin Valley, so it was kind of those were kind of the predominant races. But I was like the only Chinese kid at my school, and what I experienced was a lot of, you know, obviously I was made fun of, obviously, for being Chinese. You know, you'd get your stereotypical, you know, eyes, Chinese cut, that sort of thing. And it kind of didn't really hit me till, I think it was just this one day. I think me and my friend were going to go kind of play soccer with some, you know, Hispanic kids, and they wouldn't let me play soccer with them because I was Asian. But, you know, at first I didn't really think much of it, because I'm just like, okay, these guys are just jerks, or, you know, they're being dumb. But I kind of think about that experience a lot, especially now with everything going on. And it kind of really just kind of made clear that, you know, that was kind of the norm down there, and I didn't really think of anything of it till now. So I think that was something like that.
To that, I remember one time when I was at school, and some kid told me that I couldn't sit in the front because I was black, like in the front of the class. And I remember that's something that really stuck out to me. And regarding this whole movement, he actually reached out to me and kind of apologized for it. But that's just one memory that just sticks so far out in my head in terms of like what racism I've experienced, because I was just so blatantly, like, there was no reasoning behind it or anything. Like, he just straight up said that I couldn't sit in the front of the class because of the color of my skin. And that's when I was like, this guy's just a jerk. Like, you know, there was no other intentions besides the fact that he didn't like me. So that was like that was like one that sticks out in my head the most.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we're going to kind of move over to like kind of, you know, the protests that have been going on. Obviously you've been kind of on the front lines of a couple of them I saw. If you guys don't follow her on social media, hit her up. I'll put her links down below. She posts a lot of informative stuff, and reposts a lot of insightful posts from different accounts. So I definitely recommend you check those out. I'll leave them on the screen and in the description. But what like, how have the protests been going I know they've kind of died down, but I know there's that week there were like a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I think for protests, they're really great because it gets the community together for a cause that is really important to me. And I know it's really important for a lot of other people in the community as well. But my only concern is that a lot of people just go to those protests for clout, and they kind of use that as like, look me, I'm woke, like I'm at this protest, but they don't do anything beyond go to those protests, which is like the one thing that I'm kind of, it's not too great, but I still enjoy, the energy at the protests, and I think a lot of people can learn a lot from them.
definitely. Yeah, you see a lot of those posts online, seeing people, use the protests as a way to expand their social media gain, or like you said, clout. But I think, what's also good about the protest is that it's attention. It's like a big gathering, and obviously it's something that people take notice of, and being able to express how you're feeling, and it's part of our Constitution. So I think that is a good plus. But what's kind of like your message for those who are using this movement just for social media gain? Like,
I'd say, I feel like your true colors will show eventually. So even if you are using this movement for clout, it's clear, I mean, at least to me, what your intentions are, and it'll be clear to most people soon. So that's all I kind of have to say. I'm like, I don't wish them any harm or anything. I just hope they know that they're not being slick.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very obvious when people are just using it for social media attention and clout and stuff like that. And it really, really, like, again, shows your true colors.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of back on like the protest itself. I think, like, were you part of organizing it?
One of the protests I was involved with organizing it, and I did speak with it or speak at it. And I think that protest was really powerful, I think, because it was very structured and organized. There were speeches, we had a moment of silence, and a lot of these protests is just people kind of get together and they just have signs and they march and shit and stuff, sorry. But for this one, we actually had speeches prepared from, like, me. I prepared a speech, and then E-Ray, one of my other friends, prepared a speech, and it was just like a lot of, and we had people come up as well and speak. And I think that was really powerful because we talked about our experiences, and then people actually now know that it exists in a town like Livermore too, because I feel like people are really quick to kind of be like, oh, Livermore's not racist. Like, there's no KKK members, all that stuff, but it still really is, like, implicitly racist. And I think that that's what people were able to kind of learn about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from what I saw, I didn't personally attend the protest personally. That's a different story. My brother attended, so he told me a lot about what happened and stuff. But for the most part, it seemed like it was well organized. So kudos to you guys and kind of your group that kind of put that on. It's really great. But I don't really keep up a lot with my old hometown in Oakdale, but I still, obviously have friends who live there. And I got word that they had a protest too. I was really kind of proud of them for, doing something that, obviously not a lot of people in that town agree with. And, there's not a lot of minority down there. But what I saw from that video is that there were also some people who kind of drove a car in, like, during the protest, and they were, I guess, I don't want to say white supremacists, but there were people who kind of thought the other way, and they kind of got in the middle of it, and there was a big fight, and it just turned out really ugly. So when I see protests like in our town that go out, that execute very peacefully and without much harm, I feel very proud of that I'm in a town now that's more accepting and more, I guess less stubborn in a way. But yeah, what happened in my old town, I was really angry about. I was really disappointed and kind of just sad seeing what it was, because that's all I thought of that town. Is it's just, they're all racist. They don't, they don't accept change. They don't, they don't hear anyone out. All they want is, more agriculture, more, all this other stuff. But yeah, I was really happy to see that we got it right, and nothing more was done. But yeah, great job on that. But going to another question, what kind of made you feel like you needed to be an advocate for the Black Lives Matter movement besides being kind of African American?
For me, it's not really about needing to be an advocate. I think I just kind of not really accepted the role, but I kind of like stood up because I felt like nobody else around me would, especially in a town like Livermore that is predominantly white, and a lot of white people don't understand the struggles that people of color have to go through. And I think that's one reason that I felt the need to, I guess, kind of use my platform for good, because just the political climate of this town especially is a lot more implicitly racist than explicitly racist. And I'm trying to open people's eyes to that, I guess, because racism isn't just, the Confederate. It's not just what you can see, it's what you say and what you imply by the things you say.
Definitely. And when you talk about using your platform, your social media for good, I know, you're always speaking facts on, your accounts, but tell me kind of how you deal with kind of all the hate / backlash you get, because I've read the comments. There's obviously some that, praise you and, thank you for, speaking your facts, but there's also some that really disagree with you. So kind of tell me how do you kind of deal with those haters?
Yeah, when I get those comments, obviously my first reaction is to be like angry and stuff, but I try not to get angry while I'm talking to them, because I feel like it's really important to kind of educate instead of get angry. My philosophy, I guess you would call it, is that I would rather educate people and kind of make them see my side than to criticize them and villainize them for that. Because at the end of the day, these white supremacist people, it's not that they don't know any better, but they are just so unaware and they're ignorant to the struggles that we people of color and minorities face. So I feel like if I can do my part and try to inform them at least, then I feel good about myself. So those comments don't really bother me, because I see it as an opportunity to educate rather than just like a hater in my comments. I take that opportunity. I'm like, hey, here's this, and here's why you said it was wrong, and then I just go into that. And I've actually managed to change a lot of minds with that kind of concept, I guess, because people are willing to listen to you when you're not attacking them and, doing all that stuff.
Definitely. And I mean, I think that's very important, because for some people, most of the time when you see kind of an opinion that doesn't go your way or they don't agree with you, I think the first thing is just to jump on them, and kind of, I guess, insult them, or kind of just try to like change them without kind of teaching them
exactly
what to actually know. And what you talk about educating people, I think that's very important. Although you're entitled to your own opinion, I think it's important that you kind of know why you kind of know why I think this way. You kind of know why I believe in this. It's not just because, I'm a person of color, so that just means I'm believing in this. It's no, I believe in this because what you think is not moral, it's not valid, and it's not just a decision you make, it's something that you have to read about and learn about. So that's why I think education in kind of this situation is very big. Yeah, I think that's very important when you kind of deal with haters or people who think differently. But yeah, definitely, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, and then also on social media, it was like a couple months ago. I'm not really sure, but you had kind of this like fundraiser on your Instagram. I thought that was very generous of you, and I really admired. I really admire you for that. Because first of all, when I like kind of see like people posting GoFundMe's or something like that, most of the time I kind of just honestly I switch off. But I kind of read what you're doing, and I thought it was a great cause. So I thought it was really cool of you to do that, and to take money out of not only other people but out of your own kind of pocket. I thought that was very generous of you, and I really admire people like that. So kind of tell me, what was like your motivation behind that?
So that I kind of didn't really give it a lot of thought, really. I just was so passionate about it. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm not even gonna think about it. And so I did it, and I honestly didn't think I would get the amount of money that I did. I was just decided I'm just gonna put this up and I'll match whatever is done at the end of the day. And I thought I was gonna get maybe like a couple hundred donations, but it ended up being like, I think it was like 1,300 or something like that. And obviously that is so great, and that fundraiser kind of motivated me because a lot of people who I didn't even think really knew me like that, or even cared about the movement itself, were giving me lots of money. And I was like, oh, I know it's just money, and then money doesn't entirely mean that they're in support of the movement, but the fact that they looked up my Venmo and kind of made a comment about it, it was just like really heartwarming to see like a lot of people were actually on my side.
Definitely.
With the amount.
Yeah, I mean it definitely kind of shows you, I guess, like the good in people, and kind of the willingness to kind of just take the time and read, and obviously the generosity of people. I even saw like online some girl had like a sick cat, and then a bunch of people were donating a lot of money to her. So that again was really cool to see. But yeah, I thought that was very generous of you, very, very thoughtful of you to do. And yeah, I'm sure you got a lot of good things came your way with that. So what were kind of some of the charities or kind of like places that you put that money into?
I put it into bail funds. That was like I kind of split up the money into different sort of organizations ones to help the protesters, ones to help like certain organizations and stuff. So I chose different like bail funds around the Bay Area, and I chose different organizations that I thought would benefit the most. Like I did my research about it. I didn't just like donate to like random things.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we're gonna go kind of to another area. We're kind of gonna go not just in our town. Actually, no, we're gonna stay in our town. We're gonna finish this last thing, and then we'll kind of go into like the more broader spectrum of our world. But going back to social media, I know in our city, by itself, there's been a lot of Twitter beef. And it's honestly a lot of people that are our grade or kind of a couple years behind that went to the two different high schools. I'm not saying any names. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of hate and animosity between a lot of people, and a lot of people are, kind of digging things and, kind of accusing people of, of being racist, and also rape has been something that has happened, which is very serious. But a lot of people are kind of, sometimes like when their buddies get accused, or if they get accused, a lot of people don't really know why why they're being singled out. But I'm gonna throw it to you. But I'm just gonna first say this, that stuff like that or stuff that was said in the past, or stuff that you said, that you posted on social media, that was racist, or that was meant to put someone down. Putting it out now is just to kind of hold people accountable of what they did. I think not a lot of people understand that this isn't just something that people are doing just to get back at you for for whatever reason. It's to hold you accountable that doing this is not okay, and that if you are going to continue to be like this and act this way and say words that kind of discriminate a group or a person, that like there's going to be consequences. And I think now that kind of everything's being dug up, I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but I think it's right that they get what they deserve. I really don't believe in karma or anything like that, but it's just to hold you accountable. Like, what you did is wrong, and other people back it. Other people are supporting and building up. But kind of, what are your comments on some of the stuff that's been said these past couple months?
Yeah, so I think, like you said, it's a really great thing to keep people accountable for the words and actions that they've done in the past. But I think the most important thing to remember when these situations get dug up is that you really have to give the person room for improvement. Because if you say, oh, that person said this X amount of time ago, I'm never going to talk to them again, they lose other friends, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know a lot of social media influencers have, lost their titles and lost their popularity, I guess. And not to say that they don't deserve that, but this whole cancel culture, I guess you would call it, is really toxic in the sense that it does not give people any room for improvement. So I think it's really important to hold those people accountable for what they did, but then also give them room to kind of learn from their mistake, and so they can do better in the future,
Definitely. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, like you said, I mean, yeah, giving people room to like grow and kind of fix their mistakes. Honestly, like, I've seen some accusations that have happened like maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
As much as you shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
It was different.
Yeah, it was a different time. You're probably a different person. I get that. And I feel like, just, again, using kind of that time of like beef and kind of just animosity just to kind of like dig and put people under the bus that you didn't like back then or still don't like, is pretty, just, I don't know, it's wrong. And it's wrong for a lot of reasons. And it's then you kind of just see, like, do people actually believe in it, or do people actually take it seriously? So yeah, definitely. So yeah, now we're going to kind of move to the broader spectrum of kind of our world. I actually stopped these podcasts, I think, probably a couple weeks before George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. So I didn't really say anything about Black Lives Matter or any of this on my podcast. So this is why we're covering it now. But yeah. So yeah, I think let's kind of talk about some of like the obvious examples of like social injustice. There's been a lot of talk about that Breonna Taylor's killers are still free, and it's been a long time since she was killed in her own home, and obviously there's something to give right there. Like, I mean, someone just doesn't die and their killers are just out walking freely, but it's just been kind of how it's been for the past couple months now. And you see celebrities putting stuff on their social medias and making it known. NBA players obviously saying it during interviews. But yeah, kind of what are your comments on things like that, or just any example of like social injustice? Go ahead.
I just hope that with these movements, people see, or white people especially see, that it's an issue that they not only need to empathize with, but it's their issue too. Because I feel like watching these things, me as a person of color, I think about how that could be me or one of my friends, but I feel like white people, they don't necessarily, they're like, oh, it's just, person dying, it's sad and all, but I think it hits people of color different in the sense that it could be us or somebody we know. And so I want people, like white people, to kind of understand that it's their problem too and not just a problem that they need to empathize with.
Definitely. And I mean, it's just, there's a huge drop off on what kind of safe is for people of color and what kind of safe is for white people. I mean, for one, it's like Breonna Taylor was killed in her own home. And honestly, if you ask any person, they should feel safe in their own home.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, obviously Ahmaud Arbery was killed while going out for a jog. I mean, I like going out for runs now, especially now since, I can't really go to a gym anymore or, it's easy exercise. And it's and it's a thing that a lot of people like to do. And then, I mean, going to George Floyd, kind of being handled like the way he was over maybe just like a parking ticket or something, is just completely uncalled for. So yeah, there's obviously a big drop off between what safe is and what, being protected is. And I think, it's like a growing fear that there's, fear in the lives of innocent African American people, seeing, their brothers and sisters being killed, not only just doing anything wrong, but, being exactly. And I mean,
it's a real terrifying reality. Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that it's just a really terrifying reality for us. You would think, oh, that'll never happen to me. Oh, that'll never happen to me. But like for people like us, it's like it's our brothers and sisters dying every day, and it's really scary possibility that it might happen to one of us or somebody we love. And I think, and that shouldn't be why we're so passionate about it, but it is why, I guess, because we can empathize with them more. But I just think we need more empathy in the sense that people just need to see it as their issue as well, rather than an issue that they need to help or like raise awareness about. It's like an everybody issue, not just a Black person issue.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, like it's a human race issue.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not about just like Black people anymore. It's like if you aren't doing anything to help, then you're just as complacent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's really just this movement is really just to make people aware that this group of people, this race is being looked at a different way than people of Caucasians and Latinos, Chinese, Asian, you know what I mean? Like there's just a growing, it just seems like there's a growing narrative that Black people are a threat, and that Black people are dangerous, but it really isn't. It's a simple, it's really just a simple thing that like you got to treat others like like yourself. And I think in a perfect world, anyone could just say, hey, the solution is just to love people and treat them the same way. But it's not it's like, this isn't a perfect world. There's obviously a lot of there's obviously a lot of things that have gone on and things that have gotten us to this point. But I think it really just starts with learning and educating yourself about what. What.
Most important thing is education, and just to willingly educate yourself about these topics, because a lot of people are just living in ignorance at this point, and they're just comfortable in their little bubble of privilege, and because that's their reality. But the bigger reality is that their African American people are oppressed still today, and it starts with education, I think, to learn about what's happening and why they're happening. And I think once people learn, we can start taking steps in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think it starts with, learning, and then, yeah, like you said, little steps, and then kind of making, big changes over time. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. And I mean, I saw this thing on the internet. It was like kind of the requirements to be like a police officer in like Europe. It took like almost like 2 years, I think, and like you needed like special training and stuff like that. And then like I think in another country it was like 2.5 years, but here it's only 6 months. You're in the academy for 6 months. You're handed a firearm, and you're told to go out there and do a job. There is a big difference being a police officer in America than there is being a police officer in Europe. Obviously, there's a big drop off, and I think it really starts there. I think it really starts, with educating young officers on how to proceed in situations, and maybe not. I think 6 months is not enough time. I mean, shoot, it's not.
That's even like being an electrician or something like that. Like the fact that they're given such little time and then are expected to like protect and serve our country. It's just a big, like you said, drop off between us and a lot of other countries that don't have as many police brutality cases.
Definitely. And I think it's not even a full semester of college. You know what I mean?
How much you learn in those months, and then you're expected to go out and protect your community. Yeah. Really, like,
there's doesn't really add up, but I mean, it's just I think maybe 2 years or something like that. Just giving these officers more training, more. Giving them opportunities to learn so we can hopefully avoid so many situations that have happened in the past couple months with all these deaths and stuff. So, yeah. But, we're kind of going to start wrapping it up. I just have a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
How can people help? You kind of talk to us about that.
I think the number one way that people can help is to just first of all, want help. I think a lot of people feel obligated that they need to, post something on social media so that people don't think that, they're against the movement and stuff, but like really want to learn and take initiative to learn, if that makes sense, about African American culture and how they're being oppressed and all the history behind it. I think one thing that's so easy. I mean, Google is right at your fingertips. It's so easy to, watch a video or read an article or something. I just think it's so important to learn about the history to really understand what's going on with us in the country and how we can then move forward and try to make it better and equal for everybody.
Definitely. Reading, learning is big right now because, not a lot of people read anymore. Anything. I think like in high school, I don't think I read a single book in my English class.
But right now, it's not even, you don't have to open, a book and read it. There's so many resources, especially on social media. There's so many resources. There's really no excuse to not learn at this point, really. There's so many resources available. Like if you're not educating yourself, like what are you doing, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it really kind of puts into perspective, that's kind of the entire thing. People, they're going to believe what they're going to believe at the end of the day, whether you beat it into their heads or not. But I think if you at least kind of learn where the other side's coming from, it'll kind of make it easier for you to understand why someone believes this way. Like I've been trying to read kind of like why, people on the other side believe their beliefs. And there's obviously things that add up and there's obviously things that are valid, but there's just that kind of, there's that little gray area that kind of doesn't make any sense to me. And that's the issue we're talking about right now. And like we said, I mean, it's a very complex issue. It's a very
really is. It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we could probably do this for 24 more hours. I mean, just talking about this, but yeah, it's very dense. There's a lot of pieces in it, and you know, we're really going pretty broad on this, but I mean, I think it sums it up pretty well. So yeah, do you have any kind of like other like kind of comments on anything about this that we need to be aware of, or that you would just like to kind of say?
I think just the important thing to remember that change is coming. Although it might seem like not a lot of progress has been made, I feel like it's like the little wins, you know what I mean? It's the little steps that you take in order to get the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I think that's just remember that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of change, but like that doesn't mean to stop trying, you know what I mean? I still try to educate as many people as I can, even if in the bigger picture, nothing's really happening. I think it's really important to just change the mindsets of people and change the culture, and then we can the bigger things as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think kind of hitting on that, it's just to kind of let people know that this issue's been, you know, in our nation's history for over 150 years. I mean, probably even longer than that. I mean, this runs deeper than George Floyd. This runs deeper than Malcolm X. I mean, it's the fact that slavery ended nearly 150 years ago, but it seems like we still haven't progressed. We still haven't thought differently about people. Obviously, there's been different strides with, you know, civil rights, Martin Luther King, you know, but there's still that little niche, like, you know, the way that people think towards African American people specifically, than any other race. It's this kind of you know, thought to be, oh, we're still better than them. We're still, you know, we're still, you know, on top of them. We're, you know, we have a, you know, leg up, and it's in everything, whether it be socially, economically, even like getting a job, you know, getting into a school. It's everywhere. And
people don't understand everywhere too.
Yeah,
they just think a surface level thing, but it's really, racism is really ingrained in almost all of the systems in America.
Yeah, and I mean, in a perfect world, we love to just say, hey, you know, stop thinking like that. But you know, people are going to think, you know, the way that they're going to think, and people are going to believe in, you know, what they've been learned. But yeah. Oh yeah, and kind of like, what's your like thought on like education reforms? Like, what's kind of your, like, what are your kind of thoughts on educational reform and maybe teaching this at schools and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's really important to hit it at a younger age, because a lot of you go into high school kind of already having these misconceptions about certain races and stuff. And so I feel like if you start young, you can kind of teach them that, you know, African Americans aren't dangerous, they aren't this, they aren't that, and kind of ingraining that young, so they won't go into high school and middle school, you know, having all these racist things to say and think and stuff like that. I think that's really important. Yeah. And to cover topics such as, you know, mass incarceration, redlining, like those things aren't covered at all in schools. And I learned about them by myself outside of school after I finished high school. So I think it's really important to hit those, you know, maybe freshman, sophomore year, something like that, just so they know when they can, you know, see what's going on and how the effects of slavery are still prevalent to this day. Because I think in a lot of textbooks they just say, oh, slavery was bad, but then Abraham Lincoln fixed it, and then woohoo, now we're equal. But it's not anything like that at all. It's still, we are still feeling the effects of slavery today.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, like you, I kind of had to learn on my own a little bit too, just because I still saw things that weren't, you know, as they should be. And yeah, you know, that perception of kind of, oh, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. I mean, he freed the slaves, but I mean, there's still stuff going on today that kind of embodies, you know, kind of what you know, kind of what happened 150 plus years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of suffering, and I think what people need to realize is that lives for those people back then were just it was taken away from them. It was really just a lot. It was really a terrible thing. It was a very dark thing that happened in our country. I mean, I just took a history class on it, so this is why some of this stuff's a little fresh in my brain. But it does go deeper than the past 50 years. I mean, there's roots to this way back to where our founding fathers were. Yeah. But it's just something you definitely have to read about. I definitely recommend people go watch documentaries
on Netflix. That is a very good one to watch.
Say that again. I didn't get it.
13th on Netflix. That's a really good one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's also just documentaries, movies, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if you're not a reader, that stuff's perfect for you. So
exactly, yeah. There's something for everybody. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think the motion picture definitely depicts a lot of kind of what the vision was, and what it still is, essentially. But yeah, so kind of my last question is, what are your personal future plans for the Black Lives Matter movement? Like, are you guys going to be organizing any more things, or is kind of COVID kind of just lingering and doing its thing?
So for right now, the group that I actually organized the protest with, we're actually meeting with the school board pretty regularly to see what we can do to kind of incorporate little changes within the school district, like microaggression training, if we can incorporate certain topics in certain classes and stuff like that. So we're doing a lot of work in the education system right now, which I'm really excited about. It's obviously still the beginning of it. We've only met like a couple times now, but I'm really excited to see where it's going to go, because it seems like they're really on board with us, so we can change the education that way.
Yeah, definitely. I know I also kind of want to give a big shout out to like all those who are kind of part of your group. I know a couple, E-Ray Akinsola, Lavender, Lavender is too, Lavender Harden,
Avery,
Riley, big shout out to you guys. If you're listening, you guys are doing something great over there. Keep going, keep pushing forward. I even told E-Ray already that if you guys need anything financially, hit me up. I'll definitely take care of you guys. My pockets are your pockets, so please let me know if you need anything.
For sure.
And then kind of tell me what's kind of just can you kind of just leave us with kind of one point, especially to someone who doesn't like who thinks the other way? Can you kind of just leave a viewer with kind of just a message about what you're doing and what you're representing?
I would say just ask yourself, would you want to be Black in today's America? I'll kind of leave it at that, and you can do what you want with that question. Kind of like, I think it kind of shows you that if you don't want to be Black in America, then there's kind of a problem, because we are so discriminated against, oppressed. We have less opportunities, obviously, but I think that kind of question kind of opens a lot of people's eyes to that sort of it. If they don't want to be it, then why aren't you doing anything to help?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question. I think it really it really kind of puts into perspective what kind of someone is believing, and kind of questions them. But yeah, I think that's a great place to kind of end it off. But yeah, I know there's no screen up right now, but please make sure you follow Claire on Instagram and Twitter. I'll leave her links down below. Kind of just follow her, kind of read what she's got going on. Please check those out down below. I really just want to thank you for coming on, because I mean, I really didn't talk to you that much. I think we had a few classes in high school, but I think it was great to have you on, just to kind of like learn about what you're doing in our community and what we can expect in the future. So huge shout out to you for coming on.
I really appreciate you opening up your platform like that. It really means a lot.
Yeah.
Because my kind of educate as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's awesome. So, if you did make it to the end, thank you for listening, and thank you for, kind of hearing out what Claire and I have to say. Please kind of, support as much as you can. And if you do think the other way, just kind of know that, I appreciate you listening and hearing us out. But, if you haven't kind of like listened to any of my podcasts in the future or in the past, I really hope you took a look at this one. This one is by far one of the most important ones I've made. So I'm just glad I can kind of put this on my platform just to come out and, put something together with someone that is active in this field. So make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe if you are new. I got some more episodes coming out next week. But yeah, back at it again, back to the grind. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. It's been almost like 5 or 6 months since shelter in place. So, really appreciate you guys listening. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.